Hey, what's up everyone? Kevin here. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about the 5 most popular snowboards in the world. So I'm going to go through each board, talk about why each one is so popular, what the strength of each board is. So I think this should be a pretty fun thing to dive into. So let's check out the first board. And the first board is the Ride Warpig. The first season the Warpig came out, it seemed like everybody had one, and I talked to so many people and everyone had a very similar opinion about the Warpig, that it was a board that you could just ride anywhere. It was very forgiving, very flexible, fun in the park, but also fun in the powder as well. It's just a great board to introduce you to the entire mountain. The fun thing about the Warpig as well is that it's volume shifted so that you could ride it shorter than you're used to. Having that volume shifted feel, a wider, shorter board is gonna make it super fun. And it spawned off a bunch of boards in the Pig series. So you also have the Super Pig, which is like a beefed up version of the Warpig. Instead of flat camber, now you actually get positive camber. It's a stiffer snowboard with some extra carbon. So a board that is gonna take it past intermediate and more into an advanced and expert level snowboard. So if you're riding at high speeds through powder, dropping cliffs, it's gonna give you a lot more stability. They also came out with the Twin Pig, which is gone back to a bit of a more flexible, more forgiving board. Again, volume shifted, but in that complete twin package. You can still take this board all mountain, but definitely more geared towards the park. And another version is the Mountain Pig. And the Mountain Pig is probably the most different of the series because it's not volume shifted. So it is that more regular width board, but that you could also get in a wide version. The Mountain Pig, much more geared towards powder riding. And then the final version is the Split Pig. So a Warpig that's been split in two so that you can take it into the backcountry. A huge Pig series of snowboards, all that were spawned off from the original Warpig. Moving on to what I think is the 4th most popular snowboard, the Jones Mind Expander. This one was kind of hard to nail down because there's so many popular Jones snowboards, and I describe the Mind Expander as an intermediate to low advanced powder board. So you're not gonna be like flying down the hill on this thing, but if you're just cruising and you want that surfy feel, then the Mind Expander is gonna do that. To me, the highlights of the Mind Expander are the 3D contours in the nose and tail. So the nose and tail both have like a 3D spoon shape, really making it feel like it's a smooth ride, especially when you're going from your heel to toe turns through powder. It also has a pretty rocker dominant camber, giving this board a very cruisy and mellow feel to it and easy to ride. And the Mind Expander is not too stiff either. So a pretty flexible board, very forgiving. It's not gonna be a catchy board at all because of the rocker and because of those 3D contours. And Jones built off of the Mind Expander into a few different boards as well. So you also have the Mind Expander Twin. I've gotten to ride this board a few times, and this is just basically the park version of the Mind Expander. I would describe this as more of a beginner to intermediate park snowboard because it's so forgiving, but a really fun board, something that you could just cruise on the groomers as well. I taught a friend of mine how to snowboard and he was riding this board, and it just made the beginner process really easy to learn as well because it's so catch-free. You also have the Ultra Mind Expander. I rode this board predominantly for an entire season, and the Ultra Mind Expander was amazing, charging at high speeds, dropping cliffs, floating through powder. The difference between this one and the original, this one has a lot more camber, so giving you that more energy out of the camber and more stability at high speeds. It's also a much stiffer version, and that stiffness really has your back if you're riding down steep slopes and you want that firm edge. Love this board, definitely one of my favorite freeride boards of all time. And then finally, you have the Mind Expander Split Board. You have a ton of options when it comes to the Mind Expander, and it all stems off of that original version that is just easy and fun to ride. What I think is the 3rd most popular snowboard of all time, I've got the Libtech ORCA. So the ORCA came out, I guess about 5 years ago now. I had the original version, rode it for an entire season, and the ORCA straight out of the gate was just a super popular board. I think the marketing on this board was just perfect, having Travis Rice ride it in the backcountry, and also just the branding around the ORCA itself, that connection to nature. The ORCA is another volume shifted board, so one that you can ride a bit shorter because of that extra width and surface area. And that also makes the ORCA very nimble. So this is a very quick turning snowboard. It's got Libtech's C2X, so you got positive camber under your feet and reverse camber in between and then out towards the tips. So a board that when you're riding it, you feel like you get some energy out of the camber and also some stability, but also those rocker zones make it very forgiving and easy to turn. The way that this board felt when I was riding it, and I actually rode it at like the full length, so I was going bigger than I needed to. But for me, that felt perfect because I felt really good on this board, charging at high speeds through powder, dropping cliffs, getting some air. But it also felt very quick and nimble to turn. So if I was riding through trees or just doing quick turns through snow, it felt like just super fun, agile, and a board that I felt kind of helped to raise my own level of riding. I'd recommend this board to an intermediate all the way through expert free rider. If you want something that can handle just about anything the mountain throws at you, the ORCA can definitely do it. Some boards that spawned off of the ORCA, you have the Golden ORCA, which is very similar, a little bit stiffer, but more of a twin version of the ORCA. And this one is more designed for adding some freestyle elements into the powder and free ride terrain. In my opinion, it doesn't float as well in powder because of that more twin shape, but the trade-off is it's much more freestyle friendly if you want to add those elements into your riding. And then you have the Apex ORCA, which is a premium snowboard, a ton of carbon in this board. So the carbon is gonna make it super light, a bit stiffer, but also giving you a lot of energy out of the board as well. This is for somebody who's going free riding, but you really need that like peak performance for like a contest or just to max out your own ability. So a super light, agile, and stiffer version of the original ORCA. And then you also have the ORCA split board. A trend across all these boards is that if you have a popular snowboard, you might as well make it into a split board too. So what I think is the next most popular snowboard in the world, you got the Burton Custom. This board is the only one on the list that has full traditional camber. So you're getting camber from contact point to contact point. In my opinion, I think the Custom is a good advanced level park snowboard, something that you can take into the park, hit some medium, large features with, and that full camber is gonna give you a lot of pop for ollies, a lot of stability for riding fast. This board is also good for carving outside of the park because of the camber and because of that mid flex. So if you're like an intermediate to advanced person who just wants to ride groomers, I think this is an excellent board. Or if you're that more advanced park rider, it could be fun too. The other version of the Custom is the Custom Flying V. The Flying V version of the Custom is much more beginner to intermediate focused because of the Flying V camber, where you have traditional camber under your feet with reverse camber in between and towards the tips. So as you're riding, it's gonna be much more catch free, easier to initiate a turn, and it's also gonna be more forgiving in the park. The next version of the Custom is the Custom X. And the Custom X is that advanced to expert level snowboard for carving or for riding half pipe or big jumps. The Custom X is gonna be a lot stiffer, full camber, so pretty catchy for beginners or intermediates. But for riders that are at that like advanced to expert level, it's gonna be perfect for that type of rider. So the final snowboard, and in my opinion, the most popular snowboard in the world, the CAPITA DOA. The DOA has really been on fire the last few years. I think that a combination of the way this board rides, but also with how the board looks, I think that combination has really propelled this board to the #1 spot and has been holding it for a few years. I've owned this board a few times myself, and it's definitely a fun snowboard to ride. In my opinion, the DOA is definitely sort of an intermediate groomer board or an advanced level park board. The profile of the DOA is a mostly camber snowboard with some flat to rocker sections towards the contact points, making it feel more catch-free and a bit easier to turn. The DOA also has carbon running the length of the board, so again, giving you lots of energy for doing ollies and nollies and making the board feel more lively. And I think another thing that CAPITA is pushing too is the weight of the board. So the DOA is gonna be a bit lighter, so making this the whole experience of riding it just feel that much more nimble, easy to turn, and energetic. They also do a killer job with all the artwork and graphics on the board. I think the whole package of the DOA is just really polished, well designed. There's also a story too of where this board comes from, being built in the mothership snowboard factory in Austria. And CAPITA is definitely pushing the limits there with sustainability and just the whole manufacturing process of the boards. So as a complete package with the DOA in terms of the design, the style, the marketing, the team behind it, just a really well thought through and complete package of a snowboard. And then the DOA has also spawned the Super DOA, and I also rode this board for a season, and this is just that lighter, more energetic version of the original DOA, and a really fun one to ride for carving, for freestyle. It's just super stable. I would say, again, like a more advanced freestyle snowboard for the park or for riding around the resort. So those are the 5 most popular snowboards in the world. If you guys have any questions about these boards, hit me up in the comments. I'll also put links to all these boards in the description if you want to check them out. Also, if you disagree with this list and if you think there are other boards that should be up here instead, it'd be great to hear from you guys as well. What are some of your top boards you've ever ridden? It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you guys for watching. Have fun with their snowboarding, and I'll catch you in the next video.